Welcome again to Growing Up Alien. And today's video compilation is going to touch on several points. The main purpose of this video, which I've been trying to get up for days, is to tell what Eeka did when Denis and I had done a remote view of Inner Earth. So Eeka joined us that day and he went his separate ways. He went into the library and met with a woman in Inner Earth. So we have some information from what he and this, I guess, Inner Earth elder, political diplomat type figure talked about. One of the things I want to bring up first, though, is there is a very nefarious agenda that seems to be anyway being promoted, and you just have to be really careful. So some of the information here I got from Eeka as well as from another fellow um, who it was in the military as well. His name is we'll just call him Jan. His name is Jan, actually Jan L, but he's another lady's husband, E.T. Hell. He knows Eeka. He was in the military. I won't say which one it was in because I don't know how much he wants to share. So, but he was also abducted and tortured by the military. So that makes all of us kind of think that there were quite a few of these visitors who were, you know, trying to do the right thing in assisting the militaries down here on Terra. And I think many of them were abducted and had genetic material and clones made and all that stuff. The same thing that happened to Ika. So they, in Ika, so in Jan's case, he actually remembered because he was just kind of immobilized because they wanted to torture him. But in Ika's case, he was completely drugged and had no idea what happened. So I would say, just guess that there were quite a few of these events going on where many of the largely ET men, because they did not bring, I asked Ika about that, they did not bring any women down here. There are women down here working, obviously, but in the actual sort of fighting type military stuff, there were no women. Not because women don't fight upstairs, they do. They just don't want them around Terrans. And we don't generally like to put our hell females, and many of the ETs will not bring their women down here due to the barbaric nature of this planet. So yeah, why did they make the clones of these guys, right? So I think, based upon some of the stuff that's kind of been brought to light recently concerning well, I'll just call them Nordics here. There are no such thing, and I've mentioned this so many times, but sometimes it's just easier to use the lingo of the disclosure movement. So this idea of a Nordic, anyway, I think they're trying to create either a trap or some kind of blue beam event where they probably have cloned a lot of these men. And I'm sure and I know they've caught some women as well. In fact, in Lorraine McAdams' book, Lorraine McAdam was abducted one night, and during the abduction, there was an extraterrestrial woman that was also abducted along with her, and they were both rescued. So, um, of course, Dennis, her husband, was ambushed and taken custody. So this happens quite a bit. One of the main issues I just want to keep bringing up is that Earth is not a unique planet, and I don't know where this concept came from. Earth is just another planet in a galaxy like other planets. And the events that are happening on Earth are happening, in different ways in other places. Worse events are happening. Worse events have happened. So those who consider themselves from this planet, who are Terrans, that is an extraterrestrial race. So they aren't any different. They aren't any more unique. And I think this is why I get so angry when I'm kind of triggered today. um, when I hear people talk about Earth being a school or some kind of thing like that, and it's just what angers me is because it puts people in bad situations, and it's extremely dangerous, and that's what bothers me. I never have any people have their own philosophies. I don't give a crap. They can do whatever they want. But when you put other people in danger by furthering these kinds of nonsense type scenarios that make people see themselves as small or that they have to learn something or what have you. It's absolutely nonsense. And Earth is no different from other planets. And essentially, what you're talking about there is how people get funneled into a soul trap. These concepts like karma, where you gotta, oh, well, you've got to learn some lessons. You gotta fix that. Don't you want to grow? Don't you want to ascend? Even concepts like ascension. That is such bullshit. I have never heard that before. I have never on my planet, Eeka has never heard of it. Never heard of ascent. What is ascent? I have no idea what that means. And when you start to break down the idea of this agenda, which is, and I'm going to say it, and that's the title actually here, is that disclosure itself, and a lot of the New Age movement is deep state, and it's meant to be part of the cults that you've been fed ever since you've been a child here. Um, And it all says the same thing, that you're somehow broken, that there's something wrong with you, that you have to grovel for approval. You want people to like you. You want to be nice. All that bullshit is what leads people into what will eventually be this, what, they once they croak, the soul trap. You don't have to learn anything. You are, and we had, I think one of these dudes, one of these soul trap kind of crazy ass dudes was talking about Jesus. And there was a guy, Yeshua. Yes, he was a real person. And this person, Yeshua, tried, he came here and it was a bad timing because they were really, basically, one step above a goat at that point. And he was trying to tell people that, hey, you are an eternal being. You don't have to do shit. And nobody understood that. And they, it didn't, well, like I said, anyway, it got corrupted. But um, your consciousness, you're a fractal. And I'm just going to give an example here or a narrative of what we're taught on Era. But I think the concept should be considered through analytical process, right? If you understand that you have a consciousness and that when you access that kind of dimension where you're over soul, you want to call it, I don't know, an electromagnetic conscious field plasma. I don't know what this big blob is that is the consciousness. This thing, how old is it? So I don't know. I'm not even going to try to answer that question. There's no time there is no time anyway, but there's time on planets, but your consciousness isn't interested in learning anything because it more than likely over the gazillion years. I mean, how many years? You've already done everything. You're just experiencing physicality, a small fractal. And there are many other beings that get fractaled from a larger consciousness source to experience physicality. That is it. You aren't here to learn anything. Not that there's anything wrong with learning something. It's fun to learn things, right? You want to learn how to paint. You want to learn how to ride a bike. You want to, whatever, skydive, you do, right? There's nothing wrong with learning stuff. But you're not here because there's something wrong with you, that you have to fix something, that you had a karma, or whatever kind of bullshit people are being fed right now. They're being funneled into a messianic blue beam. Your consciousness doesn't need to learn anything. And you're not on this planet. Earth is not a unique planet. I don't know who created this or where the hell it came from, where, idiots go to learn things. I mean, that's essentially what they're trying to say. So anyone who's trying to patronize or condescend or tell you that, oh, you're just evolving, you're ascending. And once you fix all these little broken pieces that you have, because you're so messed up and faulty, one day you can meet an ET. And that is such deep state. That is 100% deep state. And honestly, disclosure, I'm going to be, at least 90% of it. I mean, there's aspects of it, of the tentacles that benevolence have picked up, but the majority of it and the narrative is Cabal. So it is just really, I'll say, triggering, for me to hear this kind of garbage because it hurts people, and it makes them, start to probably make bad decisions when the shit goes down, right? So nothing is more important than you believing in you. And I don't know who to look at. You look at you. You don't look outside yourself. You look at no one but you. Because when everything goes black and shit goes down, and I have no idea what's going to happen, and no one does, because a remote view just shows you a timeline. So you have no idea what's going to happen. But if shit goes down and these nasty government military assholes start to take over, it's going to be bad news. And likely you're going to be the one other people are going to look to. Because sadly, the Terrans on this planet have been brainwashed to be, herd animals, basically. They don't know how to think for themselves. They are full of self-doubt and they can't process information. And that's unfortunate. But again, that's water under the bridge. We didn't do that. It's not our fault. So they can do them, right? It is what it is. But what's important is that we do not second guess ourselves. That's what's super important. You talk to your family upstairs. They're going to give you information. And that's why I was given that song again, Silent Running, because that's kind of a blueprint to what they're trying to tell us at this point. So to make a short story long, that's what, so Eka and Jan both said, do not go near anyone who is a visitor or claims to be a visitor, especially if they claim to be a fancy visitor. Oh, I'm here to bring you things. I'm angelic. Look at me glowing. That's bullshit. That is all fucking bullshit. If anyone like that, you see it, you get the hell away from them. So Jan actually told his wife, honey, he says, don't you answer the door. Don't you go anywhere. He says, I'm going to pull you right up. And of course, Eeka and I are always in touch and we're concerned as well. I'm concerned that there may be some clones left, and that they may have clones of many of these men that they're going to try to use. So Eeka is going to say that. If someone that looks like him comes to you or goes to your door, do not go near him. That is not him. I don't care if he feels great. Oh, he's so loving. That's bullshit. Let me tell you. They can mind control you. These guys can exude whatever emotion they want to get out of you. And it can happen within a second, faster than a second. So you're going to hear all these tales of you can discern, and you can to a point. But we're at the point right now where things are going to be so dangerous, it's going to be really risky because never underestimate how evil the deep state is. The deep state's level of willingness to kill, maim, and just create pain and suffering is unimaginable. And they can bait and trick you in 2 seconds. So that leads to another thing I want to add here. Do not go anywhere you are compelled. I don't care if Aunt, you know, Edna, has our, yeah, or Uncle George, or your great grandfather who's been psychic for 5,000 years, or whatever. I don't care if they tell you or a friend tells you that you need to go somewhere. I mean, this is a red flag. Do not go. So none of your family right now, because of just the high dangerousness of the situation we're in and what we will be going into, is going to compel you like that right now. It's too dangerous. So, yeah, just never go anywhere right now when it comes to meeting and someone who's trying to tell you they're an ET or what have you. It just goes without saying, any ET, unless you're having a theological conversation and a history of Earth and how all the bad shit happened, any ET that tells you and starts, mouthing off stuff that sounds biblical, um, that sounds like they've watched Ancient Aliens or whatever, like that, get the hell away from them. Again, that just goes without saying. Get the hell away from them. Do whatever it takes, get the hell away from them. So, a benevolent ET cannot mind control you. There's no bueno, right? They cannot do that. They might in an emergency, right? That's different. But the bad guys can 100% mind control you. They'll mind control you before you even know your mind control. It's so fast. So you don't want to be anywhere near them. And it goes without saying, if you happen to be around a visitor and you need to be, and I recommend people practice, practice. Just you need to understand, and they understand a real one who is benevolent is like a regular person. They're not going to act like they're on a high horse. They're not going to talk to you like you're an idiot. They're not going to patronize you. They're not going to be glowing. They're not going to be wearing some magical clothes. Oh, when you ascend, you'll come. I can talk to you. I can't talk to you now because you're such a donkey in the woods or some kind of bullshit, right? They're going to be like regular people. So they'll tell your names right away. They'll tell you where they're from, all these kinds of things, right? So you want to practice how you're going to interact because, like I said, it's just so natural. How can you tell a real one? Because they look like regular people. They're just regular people. Their vibe is going to be regular people. That's it, right? You're not going to feel this weird, high and mighty, just oddness. It's not going to be there. And like I said, they can fake love. The bad ones can fake love. And anyone who tells you they can't, well, more power to them. At this point, I trust no one. It is that bad. So what we're seeing now are a lot of Trojan horses. Not only the Trojan horses, but also I call them the Judas horse. And these are people that are being puppeted by the agents, by the Cabal, and by nefarious groups to brainwash you, or as the Italians always said, put you to sleep, right? So that's really dangerous. So before I talk about what Eeka, I want to just read what he has to say this morning. I didn't have time to do a podcast this morning because he wanted to talk. But I'm like, oh, I got to go to the barn because we have thunderstorms and I got to bring the horses in. So I wrote him, but I have time to write down. I asked him, I go, what do you want to say? And he's going to be, a lot nicer than me because I'm just, 50 something years on this planet is really, grinds my gears, just so to speak. Sometimes. So my patience is I probably don't have any anymore. Actually. That has left the building. But anyway, this is what Ika wanted to say to you this morning. So I'm going to read what I wrote down from what he said. Um, so actually, speaking of that, I should write that in the description too. If anybody from our friends here, if you are able to like on command, basically telepath with your family, I'd love to do a live where I, telepath with Ika and you telepath with your family. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So if you're able to telepath on command and would like to do a live with me, I think that would be super cool. So anyway, so this is what Ika said. All right. He says, "My family, find your center. I have felt your concern and love, and this has healed me with a warmth of a radiating embrace. Follow your soul, the energy within, the voice within that will lead you through the swirl of darkness and voices that turn love into trickery. Old tales will be woven with truth and promises. They are desperate and do not have many cards left to play. Use your mind to see. Use reason to decode. Pull from all that knowledge you have learned. You will feel truth as it is absorbed into your body, but this will not challenge the wisdom your brain holds. For the heart and the mind work together, they do not work apart. To sever one from the other is a mistake. The mind follows the heart, and the heart the mind, in a dance of cohesion. When you are deceived by the burn of a false love, your brain will see through this. Never abandon the mind. Truth does not dictate. Truth does not overwhelm. Truth does not patronize. I am not a seer. I cannot tell you the future. None of us can. We are your family, and you are ours. Our destinies are woven together, and if one string is cut, the fabric unravels. We are not gods. We are not false hope. We are only spirit and flesh. There never were any gods. Do not create them now. Anyone who stands before you as creation, as one that is above you, is a deceiver. You are better to hold and welcome a hand stretched in silence than one held back from you with words released from a forked tongue. The water that is life flows between us. The plain is level. She nourishes and bathes us with the structure of life. All are given this equally. Use your scars as they are meant to be used, as brands of wisdom. Deception is alchemized by truth because arrogance is fragile and readily breaks when thrown against a wall. Become the wall. So that is what he shared this morning. And he never talks to me like that. I don't, like I said, like, well, that's just nice. Um, so going back to oh geez, when was that? It was Saturday actually. When we had gone, Dennis and I had gone down to Inner Earth. So before we had gone down, Eeka had come in the astral. Oftentimes our telepathy isn't astral, it's just telepathy. So it's just mind conversations. But every once in a while he'll come in the astral. And he was there in the astral when I was filming, and he's like pacing and like we're talking and he's just like going, he's like pacing. So I was actually filming at that time, so I couldn't say anything. So he's walking and walking. I'm like, we just stand still. Then he grabs my hand when we go down. He doesn't, mostly because he doesn't, be like, oh, he grabbed your hand. That's so sweet. No, he doesn't trust me. And he's right. You know, I'm not a very trustworthy thing. Quite a bit of a, a spicy. Anyway. Um, so Dennis and I, we were outside that library, and Eco went separate. He was going on his own to meet with this. I didn't know who he was meeting with. Now I do. So it's like, I knew he had some business to attend to, which was great because uh, it's nice for him to have a project right now. Gets his, he just gets back into kind of the swing of things. So he had met this woman. She's a tall woman. And he said she almost like glides into the room. It was this massive hall. And there was this long table, like a glass quartz, like some kind of crystal table. So she manifested the chairs. It's really interesting. So he was already there before she came in. He said I was there waiting for her. And she's taller than him, so he's like at least 6'3", and she's bigger than that. And she went up, they felt each other's energy, greeted, and he said it was kind of like, oh God, like almost. Oh, what she had told him was it was like, oh, this is like the stars embracing Earth because she's inner Earth and he's, Pleiadian, so it was kind of nice, the meeting of two realms. Very, very spiritually evolved. So they went up against again. There's this long, clear crystal table, and then there were these chairs that were manifested, and she just telekinetically pulled a chair to him. So I was like, and we do this up, so, can do that upstairs too. But it was nice to see that. Well, not, I saw it in the remote view, but anyway, he described it. And he's like, she always just knew what he was thinking. It was really, she's super telepathic, and she said, she said to him, she says, we have navigated rough waters for quite some time. And she said, the enemy is fracturing. It is recognizing its own weakness. And in so doing has now become frantic, she was telling him. So he was interested to see like where the Cabal stands right now. So Eeka began talking about the layered aspects of the military strategy from his own experiences there. And so she says, yes, that there's an alliance again, of course, between the GFW, some of the star races, the militaries upstairs, not just the GFW. There are other federations, other militaries, a bunch of things. So people who tell you it's just the GFW, it is not just the GFW by any stretch. So the Agarthan forces are also involved. She told him. So basically, she says there's this layering, an alliance on the surface, beneath the surface, and then the galactic shield. That's where we stand. Um, so he agreed with it. He said, yeah, that's what it was like when he was doing. And she says, essentially right now we're looking at a siege warfare, right? So as I said, there's a galactic shield, so they can't leave the planet. You've got the Agarthan forces, the inner Earth forces, and other forces, of course, as well in inner Earth. And then you have the Alliance on the planet. So it's siege. The deep state has nowhere to go. So we're essentially waiting them out. And she and Eeka, her, of course, together, they said they have an image of really it's the deep state surrounded to be gathered up as if in a net. So, they're basically trapped right now, trapped against the wall, which is good, but also bad because remember, they're capable of anything at this point. Um, so as far as dates and things like that, this isn't because it's siege, right? How long will it take? We don't know. Um, so he was saying, well, all the alliances, we don't see it in terms of time, but more directed by events or stages of weakening. So Ika was describing it as like, when it's snowing and you have an old shed and you're not sure how long that shed roof's gonna last, and the snow piles up, and at some point, right, the shed roof gets weaker and weaker and then collapses under the weight of the snow. So that's essentially what we're doing. We're just adding snow to a roof that's ready to fall. When it's going to fall, we don't know because there are many aspects to that roof that we can't see. Is there rot? Is there termite damage? Whatever, right? So he says it's not a when these things are going to happen, but a why, right? So why will it fall, right? Like I had just mentioned there, like there's some rot or what have you. So that's where we stand now as far as this fun experience. Yes, the Terran space fleets are allies with the benevolent groups, and the deep state has been severed from its space fleets. Okay. And I don't want to make it seem like it's, benevolent necessarily, because I think what we're going to see and what we've already seen is that a lot of these negative people groups, militaries, have simply flipped sides, right? So they're not great anyway. And there's going to have to be some babysitting going on here because you do have a lot of regressive type, greed-based, nasty groups that are pretending now because it's in their best interest to be supposedly good, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, as I always say, don't trust a Terran. Um, it's interesting to say the least, but all right, that is all I have concerning the state of the war right now and where we stand, in these kind of situations. I'm just going to end with a message that I also received this morning. It's Enasha Elia, Kana Esatara na Esa. Nore I Elza sa iltea. She ta'ar ki saneto. Naheya ascendo. Tire jo is el sho ki ia.